Welcome back. As part of our continuing coverage on New York City officially reopening, I'd like to go to Times Square, where Shauna Smith is standing by with Kate Shindle, president of the Actors Equity Association.
Hey there, Kristen. Well, we know Broadway is so critical here in New York City's reopening. We've been talking to a number of industry leaders all day. And right here in Times Square, it's home to 39 Broadway theaters. Springsteen on Broadway returning just last Saturday. Majority of theaters are set to reopen after Labor Day. So we want to bring in Kate Shindle, president of the Actors Equity Association. And Kate, just talk to us about how you represent 51,000 stage managers and actors. Now that people are headed back to work, what are you hearing from some of your colleagues?
Well, I think it's the first time in many, many months that people have actually felt hopeful about recovering from this experience we've lived through. And obviously, we don't just represent actors and stage managers here in New York, we represent them all over the country. So, Broadway is a huge economic driver for New York City, as you know, but that model is replicated all over the country. And until live performance comes back, it's hard to imagine businesses like restaurants and hotels and hospitality coming back fully as well.
And when we talk about before the pandemic, employment on Broadway, employment across the theater industry was at a record high. How long do you think it's going to take to get back to those pre-pandemic levels?
Oh, I wish I could tell you. One of the things that I am most optimistic about is that once we're safely through this, what feels like the last piece of this experience, there's going to be a real hunger among people to gather and experience storytelling in one room, the way that so many theater goers loved doing before the pandemic. I haven't been to a movie theater in so long, I can't even tell you how many people I know just went to see Cruella, went to see In the Heights when they first opened because they want that shared experience. So I don't know what the numbers will be. I don't know when we'll get back to those pre-pandemic record employment levels, but I am optimistic.
Give us a sense of what actors and stage managers need at this point in the recovery, because we have received some funding from the government, but certain people in the industry say that that's simply not enough. Mm-hmm. What's your view on that?
Well, first and foremost, I think everybody needs to work, right? There's this myth that people aren't wanting to go back to work because of unemployment, and it's certainly not true for our industry. I'm skeptical about it across the board, but it's definitely not true for the actors and stage managers we represent. Part of the reason we need to get back to work is because we have a work week-based health plan. So if you don't work, it's very, very difficult to qualify for health insurance, which is obviously incredibly important during a health crisis like this one. But we've also spent a lot of time at Equity pushing for increased arts funding because we know that these theaters need help. And we don't want to see the industry rebuilt on the backs of the workers that are basically just holding down middle-class jobs all over the country in these various arts institutions.
And President Biden, in his proposal, included $33.5 million more, a total budget of $201 million for the National Endowment for the Arts. Kate, when we talk about heading back to the theater, so many people are so excited to walk through those doors for the first time. Will it look any different than it did during pre-pandemic, excuse me?
I think for a while. I think there will be extra safety measures and, precautions that are taken, but ultimately I think we'll get back to a reasonable facsimile of what we had before the pandemic. We are looking to improve the industry on things like racial justice and opportunities for communities that have been marginalized. So we're not just trying to get back to normal, but I think that the average audience goer within a few months will have a pretty similar experience.
And how do we do that? How do we address that issue? Because it's so critical not only within Broadway, but also across so many sectors.
The simplest version of that answer is that it's a collective effort. It can't just be the unions. It can't just be the producers or the theater owners. We all have to work together, and we have been. But if you think about something like hair texture, which we've been very focused on so that people go into work knowing that there will be someone who can style their hair appropriately. If you think about making sure that we consider racism, harassment, and discrimination as the same kind of safety risks as we do set pieces or spraining your ankle. And also really making sure that everybody understands that our traditional show must go on mentality has really pushed people to work through some conditions that they probably shouldn't have. We can't go to work sick or injured anymore. And it's going to be a long process, but it's definitely one worth doing.
Kate Shindle, thanks so much for taking the time. President of the Actors Equity Association. Kristen, I'll send it back to you.